Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about how Bitcoin is going to rally to between $150,000 and $170,000 at some point over the next 3 to 6 months. I firmly believe that a massive bull market is coming to Bitcoin, and I also do not believe that we are about to enter into a 4-year halving cycle Bitcoin bear market. I have been saying for months now that I believe that the Bitcoin halving cycle is dead or dying, and while I do think that there's a possibility that Bitcoin could drop a little bit farther from here, I actually very firmly believe that a major rotation out of gold into Bitcoin is on the horizon, and we're going to see a massive breakout. So today, we're going to be talking about some bearish short-term patterns and why I think a short-term correction on Bitcoin could occur. But following that, once we find our bottom, you might see a 50 to 70% run on Bitcoin at some point in just the next 3 to 6 months. I am of the opinion that the 4-year halving cycle is on its way out, and today, I'm going to share with you exactly why I think that. So if you're looking forward to learning more and understanding more about the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space, make sure to hit that like button. Stay tuned. Let's get started. All right, Bitcoin is currently trading at approximately $110,800. And this is a very important decision point that Bitcoin finds itself in. Ever since rejecting from $126,000 and falling back down over the last couple of days down to approximately $109,000, Bitcoin put a inverse Fibonacci in play right here. And so far, Bitcoin has shown extreme bearishness on the short term, which makes sense. This was the largest red candlestick in history, and it also was the single largest liquidation event in the history of Bitcoin. So it stands to reason that for the ensuing few weeks following Friday's liquidation, that we would be seeing quite a lot of bearishness. The reason that I've been so bearish on Bitcoin ever since about Monday is that after we bounced off of 109, we rallied back up only to the 0.382. We didn't rally to the 0.5. We didn't rally to the 0.615. No, we only managed to rally to the 0.382. This is where you end up bouncing off of and rallying to on a Fibonacci. Basically gives you an idea of how strong the bulls are. If the bulls manage to rally all the way from here back up to 120, then I would be a lot more confident that maybe we could find support at 116 and institute a shorter term rally, something like this. But since Bitcoin only managed to rally up to the 0.382, only a 38% retracement back to where it started, didn't even get half of the way back to where it started at 118, that gave me a bearish taste in my mouth, and I did not feel like this was a strong enough long entry, as we told you not to go into longs yet. We just don't have the confidence that we need. After that, though, yesterday, Bitcoin dropped right back down to 110, bounced, and this time we didn't go to 0.382. No, instead, we only went to 0.236 here at 113,700, and we're now rejecting off of that as well. And the reason that that's concerning is because what Bitcoin ends up doing is it forms a head and shoulders pattern with this uptrending level of support right here being the neckline, and that ends up giving us this price target on this head and shoulders pattern, which gives us a price target down around $104,000 to $105,000. There is a possible open for a short trade right here, just a little under 110. I'd be careful because Bitcoin has already dropped so much so quickly. I don't know if you want to go into a short trade here, but there is theoretically a technical setup for it with this head and shoulders pattern. And that kind of brings us out to the slightly longer term. When you look at Bitcoin on the slightly longer term, you're going to notice something very interesting. The Fibonacci that we just looked at is not the only Fibonacci that we can draw. In fact, there's another Fibonacci here that is showing where Bitcoin is retracing to that is extremely important. If we draw an inverse Fibonacci from our bottom down here at $75,000, back here in April of this year, and the top is up here at our most recent all-time high at 126, you will see that in this case, the 0.382 is sitting here at 106,500, which is very close to that price target that we see here down on the 15-minute chart. So it is possible at this point in time that a short-term correction back down to 104 to 106 is possible. Now, again, I kind of want to talk about the short term and what the correction's looking like in the next few days, and then we're going to talk about the long term, because I do believe that we are not going into a bear market from all of this, and I do believe that we're going to see a massive rally. So let's do it. I think that there is a possibility that Bitcoin is about to break below 110, revisit somewhere around 104 at the bottom, which would be the price target of that head and shoulders pattern, maybe 106, which is the 0.382. And then, of course, we also have this bottom that we set on September the 1st of 2025 down here at $107,000 flat. So a bottom in the short term between 104 to 107 seems likely to me. We have a lot of bearishness in the space right now. RSI is low, but it's not as low as it could go. On the daily chart, we've got a downtrending level of support right here on RSI. If Bitcoin dropped down to 107 or so, you'd probably see RSI drop down something like this. So it is definitely in the cards, but it probably would be a bottom there. We probably wouldn't quite get to 100,000 from that point in time. So what that ends up looking like is a possible drop that looks a little bit something like this, just kind of a falling over down to around 107. Followed by potentially a bounce up to 110, turning that into resistance and falling lower. Now, let's zoom out a little bit and talk about the daily chart, because, again, we are looking at a very large rally at some point in the next 3 to 6 months following the events of Friday, but we want to figure out how we're going to get there. I've made this prediction on the stream yesterday, and that is that so long as Bitcoin is steadily below 116,000, that's where that rejection of the 0.382 happened yesterday, 2 days ago on Monday. If that's the case, then there's a 45% chance that we're going to bounce at 110K and rally. There's a 45% chance that we're going to fall down to the long-term linear chart uptrend, which I will show you. And then both of these ideas do not result in a bear market, but they lead to an explosive rally above $125,000 all-time high within 3 to 6 months, and that would probably send us all the way up to $150,000 to $175,000. Then I would say there's a 10% chance of a bear market down to $75,000 and then a bounce. So this is a little bit of word vomit. Let's go ahead and get a chart up here, and I'm going to plot exactly what that looks like for you. Let's go ahead and just delete all of our drawings so it's nice and easy to follow. There's a couple of important drawings that we need to bring up here on the linear chart. The first one is this long-term uptrend, because it does help to define what I meant by that prediction. This is the long-term uptrend that I'm talking about, and it has underpinned the Bitcoin market for a great long time, and it's actually not that steep of an uptrend. To me, as an analyst, I look at this big rectangle of nothing here, and it kind of freaks me out. Like, I feel like Bitcoin ought to go fill that up some. But it really doesn't need to. If you extrapolate this long-term uptrend way off into the future, keeping the same inclination, by 2035, it's only at 400 grand. Like, Bitcoin's obviously going to be trading at more than $400,000 in 10 years from now. We've like 100x'd in the last 10 years. We're only going to 4x in the next 10 years? I don't think so. By 2030, this trend line is only at $250,000. So this trend line, if it breaks, we will probably get back up above it. This trend line will, in the future, basically forever be beneath Bitcoin. So no, actually, we don't need to fill in any of this space down here. We don't have to see Bitcoin drop down to 75. We don't have to see Bitcoin drop down to 50. It doesn't have to happen with how much institutional grade investment is coming into the space. That said, it might be healthy for Bitcoin to fall back and test that uptrend, as we have now done 3 times in this bull market. And that is where one of my predictions comes in with what happens if we break below 110. You see, there's a lot of things going on down here. We have a CME futures gap, for example, sitting right here at $92,000 to $94,000. We also have this long-term uptrend, which is dictated by the all-time highs that were set during the previous bull market, which comes right here. That gives us these uptrending levels of support. And if you'll notice, that same trend line was also the underpinning of our market back in the end of 2024 and the beginning of this year. So very important. On top of that, we've also got convergent support here at $100,000. So as you can see, there is a massive just bulwark of support between roughly $90,000 and $100,000. And so what I'm expecting is that if Bitcoin breaks this uptrend right here, which is what we're threatening to do with that little 1 hourly chart head and shoulders pattern that you see there. If we break this 1 hourly chart uptrend, then the macro tells us that Bitcoin is probably going to visit back down into this zone. In other words, Bitcoin is half done with this correction, having dropped 13%, and in total, Bitcoin might drop 25%. And for example, we might set a candle body down to 100, wick on a scam wick, a freaky, really scary scam wick down to 92, and then bounce from there on a V bottom, and that would end up being the bottom of the market, set a bullish RSI divergence, and then we start bouncing and rallying. So really, I see 3 major scenarios here, and these are the percentage likelihoods that I give them. I give a 10% likelihood. I give a 10% likelihood. 10% likelihood of a bear market down to $75,000, which is our previous all-time high right back over here. That would be what I would consider the bear market to be. That's only a 40% correction off of the all-time high. Bear markets historically have been 80%. I then give a 45% chance correction to this trend line, this long-term uptrend, right? Let's go ahead and set this on the center. See wherever that line showed up. Where is that? It's off there somewhere. There it is. See, 45% chance correction. We go there. Let's just pull this back in so that it's easier to see. I'd give it a 45% likelihood that we correct back to that level. And then I would also give it a 45% chance that we hold this uptrend. That we hold this uptrend right here. So those are my predictions. 45% chance we hold this uptrend and we rally. Then there's a 45% chance that Bitcoin falls back to this uptrending level of support. And then there's a 10% chance that we fall back here. So basically what that ends up playing out as is I think one of these three scenarios with these likelihoods are going to play out. This is based on all of the analysis that we've been doing. 45% chance we bounce and rally here. 45% chance we fall down into this zone somewhere and rally. 10% overall chance we fall back down to 75. All three of those scenarios end in a rally at different points, probably over the course of the rest of this year. We bottom out somewhere in one of these zones, and we rally up. We rally up from there. What would that rally look like? Well, if we pulled back down to this uptrending level of support, then we have historical precedent for that. Every time that Bitcoin has touched this uptrend so far, we have had a certain size rally. This first rally was approximately 180%. The second rally was approximately 100%. And the rally from 75 up to 125 was 70%. I think it's reasonable to say that we'd see another 70% movement. So if we dropped back down to, let's say, $94,000 sometime later on this year, and we had a 70% rally, well, that's $160,000 Bitcoin. And that starts to make even more sense when you pull a fib like this and you say, oh, look at that. On this Fibonacci right here, we hit the 1.5 at $125,000, and the 2.618 up here is at $160,000. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw my price prediction, which is Bitcoin rallying up to $160,000 sometime in half one of next year. Based on all of this analysis, I think that Bitcoin's going to find a bottom somewhere over the next 2 months. Sometime before the end of November, Bitcoin's going to find a bottom. Probably this one. I'm very much leaning in the direction of us falling down to this uptrend. And from there, we're probably going to rally to this fib up here at $160,000. This is a very important scenario that you need to understand, and there's a very important reason that you need to understand it. And that is because if Bitcoin falls down towards $100,000, people are going to think that the bear market is starting, and that's going to be max pain. It's not going to. It's not going to. A lot of people, including myself, would go into debt to buy Bitcoin under $100,000 at this point. And I'm about to show you a chart to prove exactly why. There's a lot more content to go, so just keep that in mind. We got a lot of reasons that this is going to happen. I'm going to now that I've laid out my theory, I'm going to defend it with a lot of evidence. So stay tuned. First thing, if Bitcoin fell below $100,000, people would borrow money to buy Bitcoin. Sub $100,000. I firmly believe that. I totally believe that. BlackRock would do it. I would do it. Fidelity would do it. Sailor would do it. Tons of retail investors would borrow money at 5%, 6%, and they are heck 10% and buy Bitcoin at $100,000. It would very easily be something that you would see a lot of going on. You see a lot of that going on. Somebody asked me one time, Jeb, what would you do if Bitcoin went down to $40,000? I'd say I'd borrow $500,000 and buy Bitcoin. That's what I would do. That's exactly what I would do, because Bitcoin would go back up. It just would. And so if Bitcoin goes down to $100,000, we might see a scam wick. But again, we're talking about a scam wick. The amount of buying pressure down there would be astronomical. Like, it's hilarious how much buying pressure is going to happen down there. By the way, once you do bounce, there is another uptrend you need to factor in, and that is the ultra long-term uptrend that we've been talking about right here. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but once Bitcoin breaks through that as well, see if I can show you that. Once Bitcoin breaks through this ultra long-term uptrend, the same one that we talked about over on gold, then you're going parabolic. That's where 160, 200, 250, $300,000 Bitcoin, that's when that kind of thing starts coming into play. So let's talk about some more reasons why this massive rally that I'm talking about is going to take place. Of course, we're seeing correction right now. For the next couple of months, you're getting great buying opportunities. Why else? Well, another reason is because you have an enormous amount of money going into the ETFs. This is a vertical line. This is a straight up and to the right line of spot ETF inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs. And that is not going to stop anytime soon. You will see $1 trillion of inflows going into Bitcoin ETFs by the end of this decade. You can write that down. You're going to see $1 trillion of inflows. This chart will say 1 million million, which is 1 trillion, 1 million times 1 million. This chart will not say 62,500. It'll say 1 million, which is $1 trillion of cumulative inflows going into Bitcoin spot ETFs because of the amount of inflows that are going to be going in through 401ks, the amount of inflows that are going to be going in through retirement accounts, just automated inflows from these different areas. The amount of money going into Bitcoin that is going on autopilot right now is in the tens of billions of dollars a year, and that's probably only going to increase by an order of magnitude over the next decade. Other reason is we just saw Jerome Powell more or less guarantee that we're seeing 2 more rate cuts this year. I'm going to break down why that's so important. Here on October the 29th, we have a 98% likelihood of a rate cut. Again, Jay Powell had a speech earlier this week, more or less guaranteeing that we're seeing another rate cut. This is going to allow Bitcoin to fly. I'll show you why in just a second. On December the 10th, we're going to see another rate cut down to 3.5 to 3.75. That will bring the total up to 3 rate cuts in a row in September, October, and December. Then in January, we currently have a 50-50 shot of having another rate cut. And then following that meeting in March of next year, we have a likelihood of another rate cut down to 3. So the Fed very likely is going to be slashing interest rates very, very steadily over the next 6 months. And while you might think that that's bearish for Bitcoin because, oh, Jeb, Bitcoin crashes when the Fed cuts interest rates. Well, hang on a second. Let me just show you what happened the last time the Fed cut interest rates. As we told you, the Fed cutting interest rates is a sell the news event. Literally, like the minute that the Fed cut interest rates on September the 18th, Bitcoin crashed. A lot of people wanted to go long. Our Discord server did not go long because I told you not to, and I'm glad you didn't. We said don't go long because it's going to be a buy the news event. Sell the news event, and then you're going to have the rally. And that's what we saw happen. Bitcoin crashed, and then Bitcoin rallied, exactly as we said it would happen over in the first cohort trading group. And I think that when you see the next rate cut, you might end up seeing the exact same thing happen. It's on October the 29th. You may see on October the 29th a bit of a rally up to it, and then you might have that trigger the crash down to 104 because when the Fed cuts rates, oftentimes in the short term, it drops the price of Bitcoin because the Fed cutting rates signals at least in this case, that investors should not be as confident in U.S. markets because the interest rates coming down are basically a signal of weakness. You know, the Fed tried to get inflation under control with rate cuts, with high interest rates, and they just weren't able to do it. So we're almost certainly going to see short-term bearishness from these rate cuts, but followed by long-term extreme bullishness because the arbitrage of borrowing money, buying Bitcoin just gets even better when the Fed cuts rates. You're going to see so much investment in risk-on assets, and that's going to help Bitcoin go up to these price targets of $160,000 to $170,000. Now, let's talk about other reasons why this is going to happen. Gold is currently moonshotting past $4,000 an ounce. This is apocalyptic. This is really, really, really bad. The only time that you ever see gold act this way in history is when the currency that it is denominated against is dying. We've only ever seen something like this happen in the United States one time, and that was in the 70s when we went off the gold standard. And the spot price of gold went from $40 to $875 an ounce. That's the only time that you've seen a blow-off top like this on gold. You did see a strong rally following the ETFs, but that was more so a sustained rally as a result of mass adoption of hard assets back in the early 2000s. What we're seeing right now is gold exploding, and it's probably going to continue. I have gone on record and made predictions that gold will be trading at $10,000 an ounce by the end of the decade. I have been laughed at for that prediction. I've been told that if gold goes to $10,000 an ounce, that means we're really cooked. But the thing is, we are really cooked. Gold is going to go to $10,000 an ounce. But here's the thing. It's not going to rally like this forever. It's going to slow down some. And when it does, which will probably be at some point in the next few weeks to months, the rotation into Bitcoin is going to be absolutely remarkable. And I'll show you why. Let's just go ahead and draw 2 lines. All you got to know is this uptrend and this uptrend on the gold chart. That's all you need to know. This right here. And then that uptrend. That's all you need to know. Now, let's look at Bitcoin. Let's look at Bitcoin. Let's go on the log chart. Delete everything. Let's draw the exact same 2 lines. Right there. Right there. Bitcoin is in the exact same pattern. It is in the exact same pattern. I'll make this as easy to see as possible for you. Make this really simple. Make this really, really simple. Here's the gold chart. And here's the Bitcoin chart. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Bitcoin is going to frickin' moonshot. And by the way, here's the other reason why Bitcoin is going to rally so much. This pattern is on the linear chart, which means this is a linear growth breakout. This pattern is on the logarithmic chart, which means the breakout is logarithmic. This pattern right here is going to point straight at $1 million a coin. And the parity between gold and Bitcoin already makes it obvious that Bitcoin can go well past $1 million a coin. The current market capitalization of gold, especially considering these recent rallies, is $30 trillion. The market capitalization of Bitcoin at 100,000 is $2 trillion. In other words, if Bitcoin matched gold's current market capitalization, if they were brought into parity at gold's current market cap, as if you could increase the price of Bitcoin without gold going up, as if that's even possible, which is not. If they were brought into exact parity, Bitcoin would be trading at $1.5 million per coin. Bitcoin is so ridiculously undervalued, it's not even funny. So here are a couple of conclusions that I want to draw for you. Number one, the 4-year halving cycle is dead. It's dead. I have been saying that with increasing confidence all year. Now that we're here in Q4 and we're not seeing this blow-off crazy top, I can be quite confident that the 4-year halving cycle is dead. And the only reason that we're not seeing the blow-off top is because everybody's scared of there being a blow-off top and there being a bear market, so they're sitting on their hands and not doing anything. In 6 months, when we have concrete proof that the 4-year halving cycle is dead, because Bitcoin will still probably be back up above $100,000, that is when mass inflows are going to come into Bitcoin, and you're going to see an enormous 2026. 2026 is going to knock 2025 socks off, and I want you to be prepared. That's number one. Number two, Bitcoin is going to continue moving in the direction of parity with gold, and it will continue growing against gold. Bitcoin is actually still down compared to gold, compared to the 2021 all-time high. That's not going to continue as people start to realize that Bitcoin is more portable, Bitcoin is more is far more secure than gold is, and far less easy to be confiscated. It's far easier to keep it to yourself. Let me give you an example here. I cannot prove what I'm about to say, but I want to tell you a story. At the Bitcoin 2025 conference, I watched Ross Ulbricht walk on stage and give his speech and talk about, or the video rather, there was a video that they played, I think is what it was, when Ross Ulbricht came out and he was freed. He got a presidential pardon from President Donald Trump. Ross Ulbricht had a series of donations come in. Someone did an anonymous 3,000 Bitcoin donation to Ross Ulbricht. Who donates 3,000 Bitcoin and doesn't take credit for it? No one. You do realize that that could be tax deductible. You do realize that you could be the guy that donated $30 million to Ross Ulbricht. Nobody would do that anonymously. What I think happened, and I don't know this is a conspiracy theory. Ross Ulbricht, you can come on the channel and tell me whether I'm right or not. What I think happened is that when Silk Road was going down, Ross Ulbricht memorized 24 words with 3,000 Bitcoin on them, regenerated the wallet, and donated it to himself to say, screw you to the IRS. That's what I think happened. You can't do that with gold. You can't store gold up here, man. That's not the way it works. Bitcoin is far superior in its store value capabilities to gold. It is now, it always has been, it always will be. And so Bitcoin will continue to reach in parity with gold. You will see Bitcoin rallying up towards $1 million per coin by 2035. Most likely, Bitcoin will be trading on the other half of $500,000 by the end of this decade, probably honestly hitting $1 million by 2030 to 2032. You have the opportunity of a lifetime to participate in the next massive bull market, because subscribers of our channel are not freaked out about the fact that Bitcoin could drop down to 100. No, they understand that Bitcoin being at 94, or Bitcoin being at 100, or Bitcoin being at 110 does not matter, because the future Bitcoin's going to be at 500, 700, a million. And so here's the takeaway that I want to give you. If you believe what I believe, which is that the golden bull market is coming and that this massive run is going to happen where Bitcoin is going to launch compared to gold, as soon as gold takes its foot off the gas, and it will eventually, it can't run forever, as soon as it takes its foot off the gas, the rotation into Bitcoin is going to be enormous. It's going to be gargantuan. I'm talking about over $1 trillion of inflows. It's going to be insane how much money is going to come into Bitcoin. And when that happens, you're going to see one of the largest bull markets in history of any asset, not just Bitcoin. Strategy is going to make hundreds of billions of dollars. You might make millions of dollars for your investments in Bitcoin. So I highly encourage you, if you have not already, subscribe to the #1 technical analysis channel on YouTube for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That being me, Crypto Jeb. I have been working in this space for over 8 years. There are over 5,000 pieces of content on this channel trying to convince you to buy Bitcoin since Bitcoin was at $3,000. I have convinced hundreds of thousands of you guys to buy Bitcoin. I have been acquiring Bitcoin since when it was trading between $3,000 and $5,000 a coin. I have watched Bitcoin personally 40x from 3,000 to 120,000, and I will watch it 40x again from 110,000 to $4.4 million a coin. It's coming. Give it 10, 20 years, but it's coming. You're going to make a huge amount of money if you invest in Bitcoin. That's what I believe. I can't promise that, but that's what I believe is going to happen. And so if you believe like me, put your money where your mouth is. Get some Bitcoin. Put some in cold storage. We saw the events that happened last week with the liquidations. Make sure that at least 80% of your cryptocurrency, all of it that you hold, is in cold storage somewhere safe that cannot be accessed. Continue to learn how to manage your personal finances so you have a dispensable income to invest in Bitcoin. Make sure that you are being financially wise and sovereign today, because the money that you plant in Bitcoin today, 5, 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, is going to be so much more valuable than it is right now. This is such a better system than just buying and holding in the S&P 500, hoping for a 10% return every single year. Try 30% return in Bitcoin. That's what I expect we're going to see over the next 20 years. So if you want me to walk on that journey with you, I highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel and sign up and hit that like button. And one last thing I want to mention before we wrap it out here is the fact that a lot of you guys got burned. On Friday, a lot of people got liquidated. We didn't get liquidated. I don't want to rub it in. I don't want to brag, but we know how to manage our risk so that we don't get liquidated when the events that happened on Friday take place. And so I want to teach you guys exactly how to do that. And so I have made a couple of adjustments to our financial coaching. First of all, I've added a 20% off coupon code because I want you guys to be able to get access to this. It's very important to me that you guys have access to me. If you're like, Jeb, I got $100,000. I don't know what to do with it. Jeb, I'm in a bunch of debt. I don't know what to do. Jeb, I need a budget. I don't know what to do. Jeb, I have a lot of work ethic, but I'm not on the right rails. I don't know what direction to go. I'm running as hard as I can, but it just feels like every mile that I run, I'm a mile farther than where I belong because I'm going in the wrong direction. Seems like you know your stuff. I'd love for you to help me. I want to make that possible. So if you're interested, I would be more than happy to sit down and do a 1-hour financial coaching session with you, completely risk-free. If you don't like it, I will give you every single penny of your money back, every penny. You sit there with me for an hour and I don't provide you value, if I don't make your life tangibly better within 1 hour, I will give you every single penny of your money back. And the second thing is that I've opened up my schedule 24/7 for probably the rest of the month of October. 24/7, midnight to midnight, Monday through Thursday, I will be available for coaching calls. Normally I'm available 9 to 5, but I know some of you guys got work. You're trying to put food on the table. You got bills. You can meet with me at 2 o'clock in the morning. You can meet with me at 8 o'clock at night right now. And I've also opened up my schedule from 9 a.m. to 12 noon on Saturdays, so that if you want to meet with me on a coaching call and you've got regular business hours like 9 to 5, you can't meet with me then, I want to be able to get to you because I know a lot of you guys are hurting. So if you're interested in signing up for 1-hour financial coaching, the link is down below. And on top of that, I do also want to mention that right now, and I'll pull the link up, right now, we are also running the exact same coupon code on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. If you want to learn how to be a master technical analyst, just like myself, so that you can understand where the markets are going to, so that you can do the kind of analysis that we're doing here on the channel, I've also included JEB20 as the coupon code for the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. Make sure to sign up with the link in the description box down below. You can get access to the #1 Technical Analysis Academy in the entire world. There are over 60 videos over there. That right up there is a $1 million in sales plaque for this academy because it works. We have over 5,000 students who have gone through CT2A and they've done it and they recommend it again and again and again, and it's become its own brand with its own reputation because it works. If you want to learn technical analysis, then you should sign up for CT2A with the link in the description box down below. And I would also love to sit down and meet with you one-on-one so that we can get you on the right track, applying everything that you're learning so that you can actually get the kind of traction that you need to get somewhere and put the habits in place that you need to actually succeed in the cryptocurrency space. Listen, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more content. We are honing in on 250,000 subscribers, and I could not be more grateful for all of you. Thank you guys so very much for being here, for being on this journey with me. And I greatly look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. But before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.